Hello everyone. I have some copyright free music on the telly for our little class. Okay, we'll bring it down a minute. I'm painting what's hopefully going to be one of the options that I'm going to offer at the fire barn on April 13th. It is called He is Risen. So I decided that I'm going to start with the center heart. I'll move this for a quick second. Look how adorable this is. You can't see it. Let me get it off the tape. Do you love that? I think it's whimsical and adorable and not being disrespectful for anyone that might find disrespectful in that. I think it's adorable. So, I have my colors already. I've got black and white. I did cheat and use some regular gray for the background. Or I will use some regular gray, so just so I don't have to blend it right now. We've got yellow for the sun. We've got two different shades of blue for the cloud. And several shades of green for the grass. Excuse me. It appears like we need some orange. But I'll add some red to my yellow and make my orange. For on the sun. Could also use some of that suede we used in the Robin's gnome, but we're good. We'll handle it. I'm going to use this 3/4 inch filbert. It's all worn off of here, so I can't read it anymore. It's a filbert, you know that because it's rounded on top. I'm going to dip that in my water and just get that wet so it's not dry brushing. Get it? Before you put it in the water, it's a dry brush, so that's how you can achieve dry brush effects. Yeah, they're so smart. Okay, so I'm going to get the red paint on my brush on both sides, so I have enough to make it fluid when I paint. That's one thing I've been learning, is to have enough paint on my brush and not be afraid to use all that paint. So I'm just going to stay within my black line here. I'm going to take my time going up. You can splay that brush out so it's dispensing that paint. And when you look, your first indication that you may not have enough, you flip it over and continue using the opposite side. Stay right up against that line to avoid building a hill of paint along the edge. See, and now we can bring this all down into our, missed a spot, into our heart. This is almost like a pink red. I may go back over it with a second layer with a more of a hot rod red or a barn red. This is more like lipstick red. That little bit that I just got on the cross won't even show once I paint that cross. So we don't have to keep our painting up in the same direction if you need the angle of the dangle to get it to move in the right place. This music reminds me of almost like a 40s. There we go. We got a nice first coat on that. Work on your brush strokes. Now I am putting a second layer on, so it's not real important. And with these cheaper canvases, oh yes, I buy cheaper canvases. If you mess with that paint too much, it's gonna rob that whole area and not let you lay down any more paint. I'm going to show you how I change colors in my brush. So I use a paper towel and I wipe off the paint that's on the brush. There's quite a bit there. And you aren't going to believe how much is actually on here. It's just, I hardly put any down in the plate, and I just didn't use hardly any of it. If you think you need a lot of paint, you better be working on a big canvas, because these smaller canvases, they do not require a lot of paint. But I'm just dipping, you can see that, I'm just dipping the brush in there, not trying to get my water too dirty, but you can see, this is my 5th time now, I still got red coming out of there. So, I mean, I'll use this brush again, the other colors. Now that I've got most of the paint out, now I can dip down on that puck that they've got. And look, my cloth is nearly clean. I'm happy with that for my brush. I'm going to put it back in my container and sit here and look and see where we go next. I think it would serve us well to take a really watered down black and just go over this, right? No, maybe not. I think what I will do, though, is wait for that. We'll come back to that. Let's work on the sky. That is one thing we can do. So I'm going to raise this up just a bit. There we go. Now you can see the sky. I'm going to cheat and use the gray that I found in my stash. It's called Dolphin Gray. And I am going to mix it with some white. So it'll be kind of mottled. It'll be marbled maybe even. But one thing that I have been enjoying lately, and maybe I'll try it on this one, is using a sponge to paint with. So fun. So I have a little sponge here from my last adventure, but I don't know if that's going to do it. Oh, you guys are showing these iced coffee drinks on TV. Ooh, that looks good. Alright, so I have a fresh sponge here. I just took a regular kitchen sponge and cut it down. I could cut this again, but let's just... I got my gray and my white in my pan, and I'm going to take the sponge and get both colors on. And then I'm going to do what they call off-putting, so you just tap it again on your plate. So you don't want it real heavy on the sponge, I guess is the point. And then we're going to come along here. I'm going to make so the gray, the darker gray is on top. And we're just going to tap, 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 tap. And look how fun that is. That looks It may be hard to see it at this point. I'll turn on my other light and that might help. We're just going to keep tapping on top here. I am not normally a fan of working with an easel, but I need to work with one so you guys can see what I'm doing. You know what I like about the sponges is you can get right into those edges. You can get right into those edges. Look at that, isn't that fun? I guess you can take your frustrations out. That's a quick, easy way to do clouds. And I think we're basically in some kind of atmosphere in this picture. Since there's a cloud around the cross, the old rugged cross. Guys, I'm going to tell you a little story here. My last husband, we used to love to go asparagus hunting. You know, you don't use a gun, you just take your car and you have someone drive and someone who has eagle eyes for that beautiful green that is the asparagus. And you take the old country back roads. Always paint the sides of your paintings. It makes for a much better finished look. We can take that one down a ways. Anyway, we used to drive, and we got this after one of his settlements for workman's comp. It was a '93 Buick Roadmaster. I loved that car. Loved that car. And it was like driving in a luxury car, you know. The seats were comfy. It had a 464 motor. Man, that baby could move. Alright, I'm going to bring this down here and get the edges here against this next cloud. If I get into the word, the risen word, I'm not going to be troubled by that because I'll be dry before I start adding that yellow, so I don't get any, you know, muddying of my colors. I'm going to add some more white up here. Boy, I just think using the sponge is so much fun to paint with. I'm going to add a little bit more white to my palette. Anyway, so we were out asparagus hunting, as we did, and we were out on Route 72, heading from Kirkland back to the Davis area. I used to have to drive into the suburbs for visitation with my kids. Anyway, on our way looking for asparagus, we found this driveway with these beautiful full angel wooden carved angels, one on each side of the driveway. And Gary and I were both, you know, head over heels with art. And I don't know that he ever really got into physical art, but he was a musician and a singer, and he was quite an entertainer himself. But we stopped and pulled the car over and just sat and stared. And before long, there was a white golf cart coming down the driveway. Now, the end of this driveway, circle driveway, you know, had this beautiful 3-dolphin granite fountain in the center of it. This long, sprawling ranch house, beautiful, out in the country. And then this magnificent garden on the left side. Now, It wasn't quite set up yet, and I'll get to that. But here comes this golf cart, and this old white-haired boy was on this golf cart. See, I think I finished the clouds there. I don't know if you can tell that or not, but I'm happy with it. So what I'm going to do is wipe off the excess paint from the sponge. Okay. And until I can get to the sink to clean it, I have another container back here for my sponges and all that stuff. I'm going to dip that in the water and keep that wet so I can clean it off later. The next thing we're going to do is learn a really cool technique. And I'm going to continue to tell you this story. This next thing I'm going to show you, boy, I hope I can pull that off here, because I only learned it last month, and it's just the coolest. It's called the one-stroke movement. Donna Newberry, if you're of a certain age, might recognize that name, especially if you were a crafter. She was all over magazines and, you know, television, Saturday television, where they did craft shows and public television type things before the internet took over. Donna Newberry, man, she's the artist of the times for us older crafters. I'm not going to call us old. I'll say the seasoned crafters. We are seasoned well. Now for this, what I do is I pour two colors. I have a light blue and a dark blue. I may need to go with a cobalt ultimately, and I can go back and touch that up, but I just want to show you this technique most of all. But I have to do it with the right brush. I think that one I had was similar to what I needed, but this will be perfect. This is a flat, probably a 1/2 inch flat, okay? And I'm going to get this wet, dip that in the water, get it so it's pliable so you can move it. Brushes are stiff either in storage, or maybe last time you used it you didn't get all the paint out, but now I have full movement of this. I'm going to get them wet again and take that. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to attempt to take the blue, the dark blue on this part, and have the blue, light blue on there, and just make, see, watch. I've picked some up, both directions. Now I'm going to walk it over here and see. I'm going to try and get that one stroke effect. It's not letting me do it here. But you can see the darker. I'm going to put that over there. Let's see. So we've got that. Now just make sure when you're using your darker color that you're coming up. See how that instantly adds depth? Well, it doesn't carry through when you blend it, but that's okay. I'm going to use that technique on other paintings. If you click to add me to one of your favorites to watch, I will be introducing that again, because I just think it's the coolest. I think what I'm going to do is try and get a little darker blue in there for some real definition, but I think cobalt is the way to go. This one. You appreciate the thicker paints, but you forget how hard they can be to get out of the container sometimes. So see, now that that paint's wet, then I can go around with this one and add that depth too. See? doesn't have to be a race, you guys. It does not have to be a race. For me, painting has become a form of meditation almost. I solve all the world's problems when I'm painting. Now I've got a little bit of the dark on there, and I want some more light because I'm right in here and I don't want to lose that variation there. That stroke would be filled in black there, that curve. See? I'll define it here. See? But it could be easier with this because there are curves in here. That one stroke thing works out really well with flowers. So for now, I'll just fill this in here. I'm not going to worry too much about getting it on the cross. That can be covered up. I'm going to try and be careful next to the heart. I mean, when you add blue to red, it makes purple. But we don't need a purple heart at this moment. Anyway, back to my story. So here comes this old white-haired boy on this golf cart. And I'd left my husband in the car. My husband was he was blinded from having strokes. And so he couldn't walk by himself so easily. And I wanted to make sure that we weren't in trouble for standing out there taking pictures of these gorgeous angels, you know. So anyway, long story short, George Capotis was his name. He lived in Monroe Center. He hailed from Greece. Proud Greek heritage in that man. You could tell that because he had a 15-foot Greek man in his front yard that he had carved. He was mad about granite, and that's what his mode of carving was when he lived in Greece, was granite. It was abundant there. But you come to America and it's not quite as abundant as it was in Greece. And so that's when George picked up a chainsaw and started carving bears. And carving bears on the trees. And, you know, one bear chasing another bear. He, of course, had done the dolphins in his driveway and had those, they came with him from Greece. In fact, he had, his house was like a museum of all the Greek granite pieces that he had done and brought over on their move. I can't imagine what that freight bill was. Anyway, he's coming down the driveway. I'm a little nervous because I've been on this man's property taking pictures of his property. And you know, granted, back then people weren't quite as whiny as they are today, but nevertheless, you know, a little respect, right? Anyway, he comes up and he goes, "How long have you had that Buick Roadmaster?" I owned one. It was my favorite car. It was the only car I'd ever gotten a ticket in. It was, oh, I love that car. And so I'm like, I'm not in trouble for taking pictures. He goes, oh, no. He goes, you want pictures? He goes, I have so much to show you. Come with me. I said, well, I have my husband with me. Can I go get him? And he goes, of course, of course. He goes, go get husband. And so Gary had noticed us talking and was outside of the car at this point. And so I walked over and guided him across the street. And he wasn't totally blind, you know. He'd had strokes that took his peripheral and his superior vision from him. So basically he was dealing with some tunnel vision. And as the years went on from his first stroke, it just kept getting less and less that he could see. And that's a rough life. I think, I don't know, I can't go there. Anyway, so Gary and gets to meet George. George, he's so cool. And they start talking music right away. Of course, George is a baritone, sings at the church, and him and Gary start singing. George whips out his huge harmonica and starts playing. Of course, Gary is a harmonica player, right? And oh my goodness, we have just made fast friends. Now, the one thing I didn't tell you that was also in the driveway was a tour bus. Yes, that's how important this guy was, that he had these big, huge granite museum in his house, and tour buses would come and view this stuff, right? So, oh my God. He goes, I just need to take care of something, and then I want to give you a tour of something. And I thought, wow, he just made me feel really special that he's going to, finish up with this tour, and we were going to get an exclusive tour with this man. It was really something to look forward to. I was really curious. Of course, I had no idea what was about to happen. So anyway, side note, we didn't come home with any asparagus that day. Anyway, so the tour bus leaves, probably a Red Hat Society, those wonderful women that celebrate their age with red and purple. I love those ladies. If there's a purpose other than community and fellowship and lifting women up, please let me know in the comments because I just think it's superb the way women lift each other up. So there goes away the tour bus, and he instructs us to pull the car and follow him on his golf cart. So I was unaware of all the buildings in the back of the property, which is where he was taking us, right? And oh my Lanta, I was not prepared for what he showed us next. I was not prepared. We parked the Buick. Of course, he had to do the walk around because, man, that seriously was his favorite car. And so you see why I'm not the only one that thought Buick Roadmasters were the bomb car, man. They're just awesome. Oh, what I'm doing here is I'm just picking up a little edge of the blue on my brush here. I'll show you that one stroke thing on a different place that isn't quite so tight. You hear me? That red's dry enough now I can rest my hand on there so I can get that edge. Okay, so George invites us into his workshop, which is just not an outbuilding. It's a Morton building out back. It's where he carves his pieces. So George carves trees with a chainsaw, right? But unlike any carvings you would ever see, props to my friend Rick Cruz. Rick Cruz does an awesome job, but George here is the professor of chainsaw carving. And not that there has to be a contest, but let's suffice it to say, George knew his way around a chainsaw. Okay, so we walk in, and I swear to God, there's a 6-foot crucifixion cross on the floor with a wooden replica of Jesus Christ our Savior with authentically driven nails through his wrists, through his feet. When George walks through the door and sees us seeing that for the first time, he becomes overwhelmed with emotion again. As we learned, it was again. And I was speechless like I am now. I mean, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that at all. So we walk in, and George couldn't have not been a better host. Oh my God, what a pleasure. Sweetheart of a man. He just loved life. His wife's name is Jean. He'd been doing this, and we learned all about the bears, all about Greece, and his vision was Jesus Christ Scripture Garden. He had 150 pieces planned to go into this beautiful garden, and this and the two other full-size crosses were what he was working on at the moment. Because in the next weekend, he planned on laying the cobblestone that would lead up to the place where the crosses would rest. Okay, so, as if that's not enough, right? There's also, standing behind us, probably 15 soldiers. I'm assuming those are the Roman soldiers that were going to take Christ to be crucified. And I mean, they were my height. I'm 5'6.5". They were that and more, especially when they were holding their staffs of, their weapons. And George proceeds to tell us that he had just finished nailing Christ to the cross. Can you imagine? I mean, whew, talk about needing a moment. Anyway, so he's regaling all that. And as I find out, because after this first meeting, we came a lot to visit George, and you'll soon learn. He had me come and sit next to him because he was he may have been a wonderful gentleman in church, but he was an old man lech in life, and he loved a pretty girl, and he loved to flirt. But be clear, he did love his wife Jean. He just was a typical man who loved women, pretty women, and loved to flirt. But he did not like chubby women. And I must have made just the mark, because I was allowed to ride on the golf cart. He goes, "No fat women on this golf cart." I don't need him breaking it. And George was no slouch himself, but that's okay. Anyway, so he proceeds to tell us, I'm just going to dab some of this white in here and work it around. As you can see, I made this far bluer than the picture. But that's okay. We got the first layer down. We'll just add white from there until we're happy with it, right? Take my finger and rub it a little bit. Let's get that up there and rub that. See how that works? Isn't that, your finger is a great tool to have, I'm telling you. Anyway, so when you drive by the property, you're right on 39 and 72, which, if you're local, you know where that's at. And George's property, he probably had 5 acres there, right? And there was a big, if you're ever in Scouts or went to a camp, Boy Scout camp or a Girl Scout camp, and they had all the, bathrooms this way, guard shack this way, lake this way, camping this way, all those old rustic signs, right? Or you enter a national forest and they have all the stacks of representatives and sponsors. George had it like a totem pole situation. It was actual totem pole. in the front yard there. It was like the foyer of his driveway. It was really beautiful. I got too much on there, but we're going to work with it. Um, and there's also a stand of pine trees, right? And beneath those pine trees were these dark charcoal figures, 2-3 feet tall. Nothing life size. Nothing life size. And he started explaining to us what happened. So this is a relatively new studio we're standing in. And he explains that when he was carving Christ in his old studio, no, his first studio burned down and then he rebuilt. And those were the charred remains of the Christ and all the pieces that he had accomplished up to that point. And he didn't want to just charcoal them. He wanted to pay tribute to the hard work that he'd put into them. Those were his original pieces. And that really meant a lot to him that he was able to hang on to those. So the story he tells when he's rebuilding, this is going to give you chills, okay? So George is a Catholic, proud Catholic. And he says he works away. He claims to work 14 hours a day, which does not surprise me. And all of a sudden, it was like a paranormal situation, or what was he? Oh, Jesus. It was like a ghost. Not really a ghost, but a demon. It was a spirit. It started pounding on the metal roof of this building that he was working in. And terrifying him. It was so loud. So loud. And we're going to have to take it to part 2 because my camera battery's going to run out. So I'll see you on the flip side. I'm not sure what that was about, but I'm going to pick up where I left off and finish this here. Okay, so George was telling us about the night that the devil tried to get his soul. Excuse me. He was so vested in this Jesus project plus he's also a very devout Catholic. The devil wanted him bad, right? I mean, he just nailed Jesus Christ to the cross. I mean, can you imagine? So he was just a little upset about that. He said he had taken his cat that loved to hang out with him out in the garage there with him. And they hid back underneath the desk. It was that terrifying. He said the pounding went from each corner of the roof just simultaneously. Like there was some big creature pounding on it. Can you imagine? Anyway, I was just beside myself that he trusted us enough to share that story with us. I mean, really, really, I mean, what a, oh, so special. And George was very special. Anyway, so Gary and I kind of fell in love with the guy, right? Who wouldn't? And we ended up going every time we had to get kids and head on that South 39 way down to Yorkville, because at the time my boys lived in Yorkville. And we would stop and visit George. Sometimes it would be just for a visit. You know, the sun would be setting and he'd be done for the day and ready to visit. We'd be tired from driving because we get Gary's kids from Evansville, Wisconsin, and get my kids from Yorkville, Illinois, and we had to drive them back and forth every weekend. So it was a lot of driving. I was so grateful when my kids started driving. I can't tell you. Anyway, one day we went and we spent all day helping George plant sedums. That's a perennial flower that he absolutely loved. And, you know, anything that you plant in a perennial garden like that, you want it to be a strong perennial, so you don't have to worry about it next year, right? Okay, so 150 pieces. I had swallowed a piece of a cookie earlier, and this is the price I'm paying because it seems to have crumb has gotten stuck on my throat. Okay, so the one day we planted sedum, which we planted over 200 of them, right? And helped prune out. I mean, I have pictures, and I hope to be able to share those pictures in this video, because to get the full effect of that whole experience for us, I even did a review on Roadside America. I think it has since been archived, but if you do a search, you can find it, and I'll try and find that link too. Okay, so let's see. We were there the night of the crucifixion. That was the first night we met George. Came back for visits. Oh, the one afternoon we came, he was laying the cobblestone. He just mounted the two criminals in Christ up on the hill. And he was laying down the cobblestone. I got to help lay that cobblestone. Oh my God. I was in heaven working side by side with that man. It was one of the kindest, most beautiful acts of community service I felt like I'd ever done. It was so cool. It was so cool. Granted, I didn't get to help him do the whole thing, but the amount that I did get to help him with, I was tickled to help. And then another time we came back, and I'm just gonna tap some white in here and see if I can't create like a cool cloud effect or something. And short of just adding the white where it needs to go. So we did the cobblestone, then we came back another day and helped with the sedum. We came back another day and helped. The first thing in the presentation of the whole place is just unbelievable what he's done, what he did there. It's all gone now, sadly. Was he made full-size, he carved full-size camels, full-size sheep. He did the whole manger scene. The crib, baby Jesus, Mary, Joseph, the three kings, the camels, every single one of them was carved, right? Am I right? Yeah, it was just unbelievable. So, and all the camels were bedazzled. But here we are in the Midwest, and glue and bedazzling don't hold up that well. So he had me out there re-bedazzling the camels, which was fun. Very fun. But sadly, the day that we planted the sedum, how's that look? I like that. The day we planted the sedum, that next day I was supposed to go to Chicago to stay with my cousin Becky because the next morning I was going to meet my youngest son at the hospital because he was going in to determine if he had Crohn's or not. Well, my cousin lived in a 4-story walk-up in Berwyn in her mother's house, and she was on the top floor. I guess it'd be the 3rd floor if you didn't count the basement. And in the morning, I packed so much shit, you'd think I was a toddler, but I could never go anywhere with just a small purse. And so I was carrying my laptop and my suitcase and everything I brought to keep us busy all the way down these stairs in my flip-flops. Not a smart move. I ended up tripping, falling, and breaking my foot. I missed being there for my son at his appointment. I'm crushed because of that. And I'll never be able to forgive me. I mean, he'll forgive me, but I'll never be able to forgive myself for not being there for him like that. Anyway, yeah, I ended up 9 hours in Cook County emergency room, which was, I felt like I was on a reality crime show, honestly. They didn't have room for us, so we were out in the hall. My dear cousin's daughter took me, Kelly. She was so sweet. Because I couldn't walk, and then they had no wheelchairs. Because they were so busy, they had no wheelchairs for me. So we had to enlist the services of some guy that was just right there. He probably was a homeless guy. To have them help carry me into the ER. That was, whew. Yeah, it was the first time I'd had a cast on my foot. I am sad that I did not make my son's thing. It turned out he's 30 now. He was 12 then, and he still suffers with Crohn's. And it I don't know. It breaks my heart for him, but he seems to manage okay. He's had 2 surgeries, on and on. That's a talk for another day. But, so, George Capotis. He is just an incredible human being. The way he loved Jesus, excuse me, was inspirational and something I'll never forget witnessing that human being. He was just really, really remarkable. I think what I'm going to do, oh, excuse me, it's annoying, is maybe wait for this to dry a bit. I got that little dark. Okay, that's better. Now I can tap, tap, tap. So yeah, all those weekends of going to see George. Those were great days, man. Those were, I mean, not the driving part. You know, maybe that's why I don't care to drive so much now, but man, we put a lot of miles on trying to get our kids and show them love, you know. Sucks being the non-custodial parent, not being the one to pull the strings. But that is life and water under the bridge. My children and I have a beautiful relationship now. I'm so grateful for them every day. Yeah, I like that. How are we doing on this? I'm new with this camera, see, so I'm not real sure. Use your finger. I mean, we're going to be going over that with black, so it's not going to show. Light pressure. Come in here and rub it out. Blend it in. Just want to get enough on here so I can see if I like it. And if I don't, then let's come back and change it. That is the beauty of acrylic paint, my dear. If you don't like it, you can always go back and change it, right? I'm going to rub this out. Rub that out. My fingers are always tipped up, right? So let's go one more time and get that. You see me? Yeah. Take it slow. Alright, I ain't mad at that at all. Okay. Not for now. We're going to let it dry. And we're going to move on to something else. Okay, well, we're going to start on this section. I think I'm going to fill in the cross. And I'm using a chestnut. There again, I'm taking my brush and getting it full on both sides. I'm really glad I outlined this in black moving forward. So I have some really good defined edges that will help me stay within the lines. And so ultimately, I think that saves time in the finishing. I mean, I may have to go over it again. Well, I definitely will because I'm adding layers to this, but you know, to go over the edges that you wonked out on or whatever. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my conversation about George Capotis. He was an incredible human being, and sadly his wife passed, Jean, the love of his life. And he was, I think, ended up in a nursing home. They ended up selling the property. And sadly, I'm hoping, well, I don't even know what happened to all the pieces, okay? The 150 pieces of what was George Capotis' Jesus Christ Memorial Garden. I don't know where they all went. God, I hope they were not destroyed. That was quite a legacy for him to leave. I mean, not to mention the man, he carved over 3,000 bears, wooden bears in his time here in the States. I think moving here to the States was serendipitous for him, so he could discover working in wood. Otherwise, he may not have moved on to wood when he lived in Greece. I don't know if wood is plentiful there or not. Maybe that's why he carved in granite, because it was more plentiful. That would be my guess. I'm not a world traveler. However, I appreciate people that do travel and that share their stories and their experiences. Even before what we just survived for the last 2 years, or what I survived, not everybody survived, then even before then I wasn't a traveler. Most people that know me know I have an RV dream, but since I don't have an RV, I better be dreaming every night. So I'm going to move down to the bottom below the heart. Now on my palette, my paper toweling is sprayed wet. My wax paper I sprayed. So hopefully this, even though it's not that much to paint, it will stay wet nice and long for me to work with it fluidly. There again, when you do both sides of your brush and your paint brush is fully loaded, as they say, you sure get a longer time on the canvas of spreading it out. Right? Nice. Okay. So that's just the first layer on the cross. We're going to come back and I'm going to teach you a method using a palette knife that will add some nice depth to that. Once again, I wipe the excess paint off of my brush onto this towel. I dipped it once into the water, and every time I do, I come back to the paper towel until I get it as clean as I need it to be. For this next one, I really didn't need to have washed it, but I did because I'm moving on to black. But I think I need to switch brushes, honestly, for this next move. What do you think, guys? So my next move is to paint the black that surrounds the grass, okay? Honestly, we could do this with a marker, but that's not painting then. And I mean, I do that on my own too, just to make it easier on myself sometimes, is to use a marker. But let's just try this out. I might move to marker, but I'm just going to fill in this spot here. I just laid my hand in wet brown paint, so I need to be careful. As long as you get this paint fluid, keep your brush full of the paint and start with a wet brush. This should be a relatively easy process. Now see, I just spun my brush around to get the fresh side of that other side of the brush that had paint on it. And look at that nice edge. Good edge, huh? Almost can see it. See? That's where we're at now. I'm going to come back in here and get some more paint on my brush and just follow this. Being mindful of the wet brown paint below my hand. Oh, this was the perfect brush to use for this. But I am pretty particular about using straight lines where they're needed. The thing I love about this particular design is that this quilted yard part, quilted field part, reminds me of neurographica art because of the way the corner is rounded. Right? And you know, if you're familiar with that, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And if you're not, stay tuned because I plan on doing some neurographica with you guys here on this channel as well. There is a good purpose for that easel at that point because I was able to brace my hand there. Now the grass, the field, will be covered in various shades of green. I fell in love with this design when I saw it. Now, this whole new painting world is new to me. I only just started in August of 2020. And honestly, I'm coloring. I'm not really painting. I'm painting with paints, but it's not my design. I don't feel like an artist. Oops, hair attached. I did a deep search to see if this image came up in Google as owned by anyone, and the only reference I had was it's possibly in the Boston Museum of Fine Art. Well, there's an indicator for you. But other than that, I could not locate the original artist. I will continue, but until that point, this is author unknown, and this will be in the artistical stylings of Lorraine Watson to repaint this image with you. It was perfect to be able to tell you the story of my friend George Kapotes. I think that was a meant to be sort of thing. I'm so grateful that brown is dry because my hand is going right over it. See how neat that is? I just love that. Today's selection of copyright-free music is called Lo-Fi Chill Beats. 12 hours of DMCA-free music to chill by. There's one thing when I was a karaoke hostess. The bars, you may not realize it. If you go to a bar or when you go out to bars and they have entertainment playing, they don't just get to have bands play freely. Oh no. Most bars have to pay music mafia fees to ASCAP and BMI and Lord knows who else has their hands out. But bars I have worked for in the past pay as much as $4,000 a year for the right to own a jukebox so they can play music that is copyrighted. And same with like American Idol, when they're doing all those songs owned by other artists, they're paying a usage fee on those. Probably as much as up to $1,500 a song just to play that music or to be able to sing that music on live television or on television at all, or to record. I don't know what it would be to record it. Perhaps that's a whole different contract. But you know, our artists need to make money, right? Just like anyone else. And the internet has promptly killed a lot of that, the way the music business started, you know. First on radio, and we went to vinyl discs, not CDs, vinyl records. Then to CDs. Then everything analog went digital. And that tangible music business had to pivot and grow new legs. Napster, if you watch the movie Social Network, that's where you learn about Sean Parker, who developed Napster and became an overnight millionaire because he was giving away music. I mean, all the record companies sued him, of course, but, you know, he made some money while he was out there and gained a lot of knowledge about social psychology of what people want. And on the internet, believe this or not, but it's still in basic infant stages. Infant stages. There's going to be so many changes coming into the internet once the people that be get their hands on how to control it. Anyway, internet changes everything, doesn't it? I'm so grateful I have this painting side hobby to keep my mind occupied. Because right now I'm listening to chill beats. Painting this beautiful He Is Risen instead of watching them talk about bombing Ukraine and how our lives are forever changed because of the pandemic. Our kids' lives are changed because of a year and a half, 2 years of no school. I mean, yeah, you were able to teach them at home. Yippee. It's not just the actual subjects that they're learning. They're learning social interaction. They're learning accountability for self by making sure they're getting ready. They're learning grooming. They're learning, oh God. You know, school is so important for so many reasons. I praise the people that can homeschool their kids. It seems to me those kids seem so much more better rounded or more centered. Maybe it's just because they don't have the stress of a school and the drama of having to fit in and being bullied, and that's gotta, you know, I think we need to rethink all of this. Just because it's been a while since we were cavemen doesn't mean we gotta stay in our caveman ways, right? Pretty barbaric at times these days. I think I need another line. Like I need something right here. Yeah, there is a thin, oh, it's this line. It's thin. Okay. I need to fill this in. Go slow. I need more paint. Come up from the bottom this time. Meet in the middle. Meet you in the middle. There. Almost done with the black. For now. This black is also going to go around this big cloud. That'll really help define that a little bit. Beautiful day today. It's nice and sunny and bright and blue. I think the temperature is probably lower 40s, upper 30s. But tomorrow they're saying 50s and the rest of the week in the 50s. So, you know what? Maybe spring is springing. I don't like to be so overly cautious or optimistic about spring because, man, Mother Nature, you get her riled up. She'll surprise us with probably more snow. I doubt we're done with it totally. Who knows? Who can say? You know, the way they mess with our skies and shit with these chemtrails. I said a naughty word, I'm sorry. Forgive me, Jesus. Do you think I'll get any crazy dispensation because I'm actually painting a picture for him? Probably not. I think he's probably grateful I'm using my gift. And my gift today is being able to spend time with you guys. That I look forward to. Look at that. We're coming around the corner here with this black. I swear, the right brush, the right amount of paint, and everything is so much easier. Your painting experience. Don't be afraid to put some paint on your brush, ladies. There's not a mistake you can make in acrylic painting that you cannot fix. Okay, there may be tears, frustration, but because you can fix it, you're never stuck. And if you're like me and you mess it up badly or bad enough, yeah, you go get another canvas and try it again. If you're that bad, if you hate it that much, then it can just become an antique canvas. So after this one, I get to paint a robin. A robin gnome. Actually, it's a gnome in a forest. It has a cute little robin on its hat. That went over really well at my last party. There. So with Neurographica, this would mean that all the corners are rounded. We don't have sharp corners with Neurographica. And now, since I've been studying it, it becomes a habit. So, and it feels weird to have sharp corners. So, You guys, Tyler Henry, I don't know what you feel about, you know, psychics and being able to talk to those who've passed over, or to people that have the blessing of being able to see things coming our way or happening to us. Tyler Henry's one of those people. His new season just started. OMG. It is wicked cool. Because he's not talking to just celebrities anymore. Because that was a lot of his first season or two, where he basically did celebrities. I was really tickled to see that, not, of course, everyday people, because the homes he was going into, they were pretty special. Oh my goodness. But it was like regular people, but they all had extraordinary stories. So I'm only halfway into his new season, but I mean, he's even doing help with a detective on a missing person case. That was really interesting. Just some new stuff that he's, you know, wholly capable of. And the beautiful thing about this series is it's tying together a thread, telling a story about his mother's heritage. And she was, oh, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but that if you check out the season and are just interested in genealogy and that and what it's capable of doing, check out the story about Tyler Henry's mother, man. That was wicked cool, and it just brings awareness to a whole new thing that you don't really think about much, and that is I'm just gonna say it, child abduction. So Tyler Henry, I believe he's on Netflix, I think, new season, and yeah, I'm in the middle of that. I can't play that for you here, but yeah. All right, well, let's try something here, and if it doesn't work, we can go over it again. But I want to do a little bit of dry brushing for on the cross. As you can see, it's kind of variegated, as opposed to just one straight color. You can see it adds some dimension. So I'm going to use a palette knife. You can see the palette knife here. It's just I'm getting a smaller one in the corner because I've got a little space to work with. But I'm going to take my paint. I'm just going to get some on the edge of my paint and make it variegated like that. See? We got it. We got some now. And we're going to take this. I'm going to have to get this in the right place. And I'm just going to drag it. Oops, that'll be yellow. I'm not worrying about that. You do have to be careful, but I'm gonna try it again here. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna flip my canvas like I've done in the past for you guys, and I'm gonna start here and work my way down. Just get that edge. Okay, that looks pretty cool, right? Looks a little dimensional. I ain't mad at it. I'm going to go up top and try and do the same thing here. I may have to hold this just to get the right angle because it is a little bit shorter and smaller of an area. Uh-oh. Alright. This upper area is not as easy. I think I'm going to be very cautious here so as not to ruin my good time. I'm going to work this in here with a dry, small flat brush. You can barely see it. How do you do that? There you go. See, there's hardly a head on it. But put it in there. We could add some streaks in here. I think we need some more chestnut. I think that was brown oxide, actually. No, that was a dark one. There's the chestnut. Let's streak some chestnut in here. Okay. Not bad. I'm just gonna go in here and lay down these edges and then streak it up. I'm going to let that dry just a second, right? Because then if I come back and try and use the brown on it, it'll just be too muddied. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone for now. That doesn't look horrible, does it? I don't think so. Because then we'll come back and see how this is all outlined again in the black. So that's cool. So I'm wiping off this brush. There's hardly any brush on it, so I'm okay to brush it in my water because not that much paint's going to come out. I'm going to use the toweling to wipe off my palette brush. Stick that in the water real good. Just get it as clean as you can. You don't want those colors coming off on another project, especially if you're using pink or something and you just use black and brown. That wouldn't be pretty. Well, alrighty. So, I think one thing we could do is to reset that red. Let's wait till that dries. Let's see. What should we do? I think we're going to Let's paint the sun. Here comes the sun. Doo doo doo. Oops. All right. So the brush I'm going to use for this is a filbert, probably a 1/2 inch filbert. You can see it's kind of rounded. I'm going to lay down my yellow first. Yellow and then harvest orange. I'm doing this part of the sun. And we're just going to go up against this. So, tell me about your Easter childhood. What is your favorite memory from Easter with your family? I think I had a funny memory. We grew up on 97 acres of land. And one year, we were having extraordinary weather like we are now, as far as it not being still the middle of winter when it came to be Easter. And Daddy decided that the Easter Bunny was going to leave the eggs outside. And so they hid all the eggs outside. Well, they, like what happens when you get older, they thought that they could remember where they hid them all. And it was weeks after when Daddy'd started mowing for the season that there was a couple times that that old egg would go flying. One that we missed. There was a couple. I think there was like 2 or 3 that we couldn't ultimately find. Daddy found them with the mower later on. I come from an era when you were lucky to get candy along with your colored eggs. I mean, you went to church. For us, it was truly more about the meaning of Christmas. Okay? Christmas. Of Easter. I'm going to try that one stroke thing here when I'm doing this orange, just to give you guys an idea of how cool it can be. I might have a little bit much paint on my thing, but we'll see how we do. I think we have enough to come over here. Oops. What you do is you come in here with it, you wipe all that off with your dry brush. You just get in here and blend that nice. There's something on that. Get in here and blend that out. Blend it together. If you want, you come back in at the top just to really lay that color down. See how it added a little bit of magic there? Yep. I'm definitely going to have to go over that line with the black, huh? There we go. So I see how much orange I've got on there? I'm going to wipe all that off and get this blended up here real good. I don't want to lose that orange at the top, but right where I laid it down, I want it to blend a little better. See how that made it, helped it pop a little bit? I need a little bit better here for definition. There. Okay. I like that, right? I like it. Now, we're going to wash this filbert out really good. I think let's play with our fan brush. I think I'm going for a smaller size on that though, just for a little bit more control. Look, these two brushes are really fun to play with. They're called a fan brush. Now I guess what I'm going to try and paint is this. I'm going to lay down yellow below all that, below the cloud, indicating the sun. So let's just take that here and go up like that. See? Get a nice line on the bottom and bring it up. Bring it up. See the beauty of that marker on that He is Risen? That'll stay intact if we don't lay it down too heavy. And then you turn it on its side and you can splay it out a little bit. But then you've got this great line to work with to get the edges. Once again, we can always come back and go over that black. Let's take the sun all the way to the side. All the way to the side. We got this base of this yellow. I think I might come back and do a brighter yellow too. It's begging for it, right? Get the side on this side, using up the excess paint on the brush. And we can come back and add some really bright yellow. Okay. This is a great brush for making grass too, because of its wispiness. These brushes, there's not as many bristles on them, so they clean a little easier too. That does not to say that they don't absorb a lot of paint. I'm going to finish just quickly getting the bulk of the paint off of the filbert and the fan brush and go back to my flat. And now we're going to take a short break. I'll be right back, and we're going to probably paint the grass. Alright, picking up where we left off. I'm going to add a palette here for my greens. And so I'll show you how I set it up. These paper towels, I'm going to turn them over a little bit and puff them up. I have my spray bottle of water. I'm going to spray the paper towels, get them damp. Okay. Wax paper. That's one strip, and I folded it. So I'll be able to use that a couple times too. So, voila, a clean palette. For the next part, we're going to be looking at painting the grass, or the land. Put that down. So I just grabbed an assortment of greens. We need a darker, like marsh green. Shake this up. I'll tell you why I chose this filbert to do this, because look at when the brush is clean and dry, and so is your canvas, you can go in and see how well it matches or fits in those corners. So for the majority of these, this will be a nice fit, right? I'll just have to be careful and maybe come back with the liner brush or a flat round or a flat brush and get that corner. So I'm going to add my greens. Just a healthy assortment. You don't need a lot of paint. Okay. I'm going to use like a Kelly green to since it's springtime. There again, you got to give it a good shake. I've been waiting on an order for some neon colors I'm pretty excited to get. This is a holly green. That'll be a nice bright green. Oh, it's not quite open though. I'll just pour a little out. I follow an artist called Joni on YouTube, and she uses neon colors. And let me tell you something. That's a Christmas green, and that was a holly green. That's pretty similar. Eh? Here's a nice spring green, poly green. See if that's much different than the first one I just laid down. The one thing you have in my house is hair. Is it kitty hair or mom hair? Oh, this is what they have. I have a booger on this one. I don't like to use those. I probably won't need much more than what's on there, but and it looks like they've blended theirs with a little yellow, so I'm going to use a pale daffodil. If you're painting at home or you've purchased an art kit from me, you'll have the appropriate colors you need to paint this. So, and if you accumulate paints or are a painter yourself, and you just enjoy the design, and you can paint it whichever way you want to. Whichever way you want to. Alright, so here's the trick though. I'm just going to grab a blue and give a little lesson on colors. Well, maybe this will be interesting. I'm going to use a light blue here, and actually I'm going to add it to this green, this yellow over here, and see how green we get. That's a nice calm shade of green. It should be like a pastel. Look, isn't that pretty? This right here. So that's what happens when you add blue and yellow, is you get a nice pastel green. And I think we can place that right here. A booger on the canvas. Let's see, where else can he go? I think up here would be alright. Well, if we get that flat enough, we can do that corner. Okay. Go back in here and dab this up again. Use what we've just created. What God has given us. I think we're going to go... Yeah. I see why they did that. Let's say it's about 85 degrees. We're in a hot rod red convertible. 1974 Mercury. Did they make convertibles? I don't know. I like the width and the girth of a Mercury car. There I go with my cars again. I swear to God, you guys, that Buick Roadmaster, if I could find another Roadmaster like that, that would be the dream. Alright, I'm going to see how fast I can get this done, so we're not here all freaking night doing this. See, we're going to have to go over that black again. That's what happens when I hurry, see? And I make extra work for myself. That's why it's okay to be slow, and that's, I think, where the meditative process really kicks in. It's like challenging yourself to be the ball. Stay on that line, just watch it. It gives you a chance to be present, to be here now, to there. We're going, I'm going to get enough on that tip, because this is narrow, and I have to hang on tight and have faith in my finger to hold what's up. Get in there. And then, see, there's too much. I'm going to stroke it down So not to get on the black line, come back in and hover and fix it. Where else do we need that pretty little color? Right here. There. Sweet. Alright, I'm wiping that tone off. Let's go dark for a second here and get this corner up. I've decided that I'm going to use a paint pen to paint around that cloud and to fill in the words when I'm finished painting, that is. Not right this minute. So for me, you know, a lot of times I'm not going to take you to church because I never really did appreciate it when I took to church. Church happens for me when it's the Lord touching my heart, not like my mom, man. I can't tell you how many churches she tried until she found her Jesus. And I think for her too, like it was for me, is she found her peace, her most comfortable way to communicate and be able to feel comfortable talking to God, Jesus, Source, whoever it is, one-on-one, alone. Being supported by a fellowship is great. Is that family? Is that the people you meet at church? What draws you to church? Well, I've seen a lot of them. Oops. Here's a little trick I'm going to be able to show you guys. Oops. Rubbing alcohol wipes, baby wipes. When you have an oops doesn't have to stay an oops, especially right out of the box, because alcohol takes the paint away pretty effectively. I mean, see there again, we have the problem of the cheaper paint and the cheaper canvases. Anyway, normally if there was a big oops, like here, this could ruin this too, but up here we got the brown going on. This could just blend easily. Nope, that's rubbing it, but we still need to forget about it. I'm going to cut that part out. Anyway, where was I? Right here. Yeah, I think that'd be a good balance. Doing this one up here next. Oh yeah, we were talking about Easter traditions. Or I was talking. You were listening. With my kids, I'd usually get visitation with them for the holiday. You know, we do one time my youngest, his birthday fell on Easter. I still have those pictures. I stayed up all night getting the bike ready for him and making the Easter special and happy. Oh, we gotta add some, that one is blue, green. I wonder if I just stroke it, what would happen? Not dark enough. But that's a cool color nonetheless. I gotta be careful on that side. See, I hate that little curve there. We can get it straightened out though. See, there's a good one. Spring 2022. I wonder what this spring and summer holds for us. Of course, the world is not going to disappoint. It's constantly needing attention. Look at me, look at me. There's bullies everywhere. Cute, cute, cute. Home stretch, guys. I'm going to turn it sideways. So I have a good angle on the dangle there. Couple dots and we're almost done. It's right on the corner of this canvas. That wasn't really smart, was it? The hardest part of the painting is the last 20 seconds. See? Now we got some dots to do. We got 3 dots here. 1, 2, 3. 5 dots here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I just put my finger in the black. Be careful. We got 6 here. And that kind of threw off, and then it's kind of that same thing going on over here. It's get this tighten this up down here. I'm just going through and checking these black lines here. We want them not muddy with the other colors that got on top of the black. Adding in our dots where we can. That's a ta-da, folks. I'm gonna sign it on the side here. I just love this, and I really don't want it. There. He is risen. I love it. Hey, you guys, thanks for spending this time with me. I'm Heart and Soul Acrylic Paintings on Facebook. I do have a website. It's thehealing20s.com. Still developing that, though. If you want to do a party with this, or you want to paint it yourself, I will have our kits available. So thanks for watching, and I'll check you next time.